Caleb. Thank you so much for being with me today. My name is Kim Williams. I'm here for Williams on Workplace Justice, and I'm really excited to have a conversation with you. I know that you have your own practice in Iowa City, Iowa, Thompson and Associates, and you've done some really great work nationally. I know that you're a prolific writer that talks about a whole bunch of different issues in terms of offering people's mental health support,
Yes.
and that you work with folks individually in Iowa as well. But today, I'd like for you and I to talk a little bit more about ways we can help folks who are experiencing workplace abuse. And so I
Yep.
want to thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much, Kimberly. I'm certainly honored and very excited to be here because, again, workplace bullying is very common, and individuals need to know that there's support out there. And so I'm just wanting the audience to know that I am a support and an ally. As you mentioned, I've got my own practice, Thomas and Associates Counseling and Consulting, and we work across the globe. However, if you're looking for just mental health counseling, which I provide and our practice provides as well, that's just within the state of Iowa.
Okay, awesome. So let's get into like folks who may be listening right now or watching right now, and they think that they're experiencing workplace abuse. What's one piece of advice that you would give to them? What should be a kind of a next step for them?
For those who are experiencing workplace abuse, some advice I would give to them is to make sure that they are writing down what is happening. Jot down what is happening. Take copious notes about the abuse, and basically, the five W's, who's it coming from, um, why is it happening, when is it happening, you know, and so that way they have a record of, and even how often it's happening, different days and the times that it's happening.
I like that. Yeah, especially to demonstrate severe and or pervasive if something is going on to that degree.
Definitely.
Can you talk to me a little bit about like the mind body connection? Like what's going on inside of people? Like like a layman like myself, like we know this doesn't feel good, but what does an
Mhm.
expert like yourself have to say about what are people experiencing when they go through this?
Well, that's quite a bit, Kimberly, because some of the things that individuals will experience is physical and psychological effects, including chronic stress, anxiety, as well as depression, can happen during this time. And so some of those physical symptoms may include sleep problems, high blood pressure, as well as digestive issues within the stomach. Okay. You've got psychological impacts, which can include low self-esteem, uh, again, difficulty concentrating. And if it's not dealt with immediately, it can cause PTSD, from workplace trauma. So we want to make sure, and again, thank you for what you're doing and all the work that you're doing, right, to help educate people and bringing individuals in such as myself who can help. And as a therapist, I deal with this, many times this is why individuals come in to see me because of workplace trauma, workplace abuse, right? And again, I want to encourage the audience that if this is a problem, do not hesitate. Okay. Do not hesitate to go and see a therapist and get that scheduled. You know, I'm a victim myself of workplace abuse and trauma um, regarding racism. And, I was kind of young and didn't know about somebody like you, Kimberly, who could reach out. So I just kind of took that abuse. And the other thing I would say to the audience is don't think that things are going to change.
Yeah.
You know, bullies don't change until something's done. They'll continue to keep bullying, right? We can go
100%.
back and think about the childhood bully, if you never do anything about it, they'll continue to torment you. And unfortunately, we are noticing the same thing in the workplace.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because this is actually October is National Workplace Bullying Prevention Month. And
Hmm.
we're starting to see organizations speak to this about what happens outside of the schoolyard. A lot of times the focus of this month is just to dive deep into the pain that kids are experiencing, and that's legit horrible pain. But yet 50 million plus workers have also experienced this, and we don't talk about it at all. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm so
Yeah.
sorry that that happened to you.
No, no, yeah. And so, I really want to be able, Kimberly, to be a help, be a support to those individuals out there and an encourager to them, to let them know, don't continue to suffer through this.
No, that's really, really good advice. And also potentially, not a lawyer, but I just know from the HR perspective, going and speaking with a counselor also essentially documents your case. It's also documenting the harm because,
Yes.
maybe you could walk us through that. Like, if I'm being traumatized at work and I come to you for help, what does that process look like typically? I know everybody's going to be a little bit unique and have their own issues, but do you do like a depression assessment, or and what type of therapy do you recommend for folks in that type of space?
Yes, yes, yes. I would definitely um recommend um and basically for me, we're going to do when the individual comes in an assessment, right? And gonna kind of walk through what is going on um, with the individual and what symptoms they're having. And those symptoms will then be documented. And then from there, we discuss the game plan, and at our practice, Thomas and Associates, we walk the individual through um, and at their own pace, right? There's no rush. There's no, okay, some individuals may use their employee assistance program for therapy, and usually that gives anywhere from 6 to 12 sessions. So it doesn't even have to touch their insurance if they don't want to. So they
Mhm.
can start out. So I just wanted to give that wisdom out there
Yeah, that's
in
great.
case they don't want to, go through because sometimes insurance various co-pays and
Mhm.
deductibles have to be met and things of that nature. So I did want to encourage the audience that, there is that opportunity. And so getting back, we would do an assessment and find out those symptoms, and then we will come up with strategies to begin helping them deal
Mhm.
with the workplace bullying and how they can also, you know, deal with the stress, the anxiety, the depression, right?
Mhm.
Cope with it, uh, as well as how to deal with the bully, because that's something that a lot of people don't know.
Yeah,
How
I
do I
know.
deal with this bully? Where do I begin? They understand the pressure that's happening,
Mhm.
but they don't know how to deal with the bully. It's just kind of
Right.
like, for those of us who've been bullied, primary years of life, it's kind of like, I understand that I don't like how this makes me feel. I don't like the anxiety. I don't like
Mhm.
how, the low self-esteem, it's causing me. But how do I deal? So that's something that we'll talk about and tackle during
Mhm.
our therapy sessions.
Oh, that's fantastic. No, really glad to hear that. What message would you share with someone who is just realizing that they've been bullied or is feeling broken or alone right now?
Oh, yeah. Well, I would love to share with the uh, audience and those who are going through, first of all, to be encouraged. Um, One, realize it's not your fault. Unfortunately, there are bullies out there. And, if they're not dealt with at, a younger age, they grow up to be adult bullies and bullies in the workplace. And, many times, as you and I had conversations with, many times they're the higher ups.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, Not always, but many times. And I think that makes it more difficult. So again, this is why it's so important that you're doing what you're doing because, you talk about that, you talk to that, how do you deal with the higher up? It's kind of different in a sense. Maybe it's a peer on your level, right? But yet that also is not appropriate and it needs to be dealt with. So I want to encourage the individuals out there listening to realize that you are enough, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, you know, and God has a great plan and purpose for your life. And here's something that a lot of people won't share, Kimberly, is sometimes you may have to leave that job,
Yeah.
unfortunately. You may love it. You may be, amazing at what you do. Um, I was a school counselor and all the kids loved me and I love the kids. And still to this day, I'll see kids. Sometimes I don't even recognize them. They'll say, Mr. Thomas, is that you? You were my school counselor and I loved you. And you remember you? And I was just like, and it just warms my heart. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So even though, Kimberly, I did my best, the
Mhm.
results showed through the kids.
Yeah.
But the bully that I had to deal with was upset. And sometimes this is something we don't talk about a lot, there's racism involved that
Yes.
bullying due to racism. And that's was my case. And again, I would say, taking your notes down, jotting them, and if you have to seek out legal counsel. Again, I was young, I didn't think uh, too much about it. Um, and I was kind of thinking, well, maybe things will turn around and trying to work to turn things around. And sometimes it just becomes so toxic that you just have to leave. So I want to encourage the audience, if it comes down to that, realize it's not the end of the world.
Mhm.
Just know that you have done an amazing job and God will bless you to continue those gifts and talents and skills someplace else where someone's going to appreciate you.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned that about contacting a lawyer as well, because I get calls constantly where folks are telling me like, "Oh, I'm being bullied by my boss," but when we dig in for a few minutes, it is race based, or it is clearly tied to gender, or they're the only one being singled out, and they're the only one with their characteristics, whatever those protected characteristics may be, and there is not enough information out there on what qualifies as a claim or what may be actionable or unlawful. And so it never hurts to just try. And if you do reach out to an employment attorney for a potential claim like that, having those documents in order, having your timeline is going to be really, really important. So that's really good advice that you shared. Um, what gives you the most hope for the future?
Uh, what gives me the most hope for the future um, is, my faith, my belief in Christ, that's where my hope lies, Kimberly. And so I know that and again, our practice is it's a faith-based, Christ-centered practice. But yeah, that's what gives me the hope and knowing that, I can't do this on my own, trusting in him and leaning not to my own understanding, but acknowledging him in all my ways, and he directs my paths.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. So I'm going to share a link to your website. Anything else you would like for folks to know about you, Caleb?
Yeah, I would like individuals to know that they can reach out to me at thomasacc.com, but also I just don't provide a mental health counseling. I'm also speaker. So if individuals are looking for me to come and talk more on these topics, um, I would be happily to speak more about that, as well as the consulting that we do. And, you know, even with not just businesses, but also schools. Schools need, this consulting as well, from the top down. So individuals can address these difficult issues because here's what happens, Kimberly. The individuals, let's just say the company gets sued,
Mhm.
right? And so then um, that company takes that loss, whatever, insurance, but that doesn't solve the problem. You see what I'm saying? And so I want to come in and help companies. That's what, we do, come in and help companies to avoid that, right? And to also know that you can have, the success and the support of a healthy company environment, right? To where systems are in place. And so these things aren't happening. But many times, people get sued and they're going about their business, and those who are in the higher positions still remain in those higher positions. So,
Mm.
what stops it from happening again?
Right.
Not the lawsuit.
Yeah.
It has to be education and training. So I provide that to reach out to me, as well as speaking engagements. Also an author. Again, this is a different topic, but that's on a subject matter of addictions. Again, that is something I work with individuals on, helping them to come out of that bondage.
Oh, nice. Well, Caleb, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you showing up for Williams on Workplace Justice.
Thank you so much, Kimberly, for having me. And I want to continue to encourage you to keeping up the great work that you're doing, because we're all in this together, helping individuals such as myself and others who are going through workplace bullying.
Awesome. Well, thank you again.
You're welcome. Have an amazing day.
You too.
Thanks. Bye-bye.